Fallout 4 has just been announced. We got a teaser trailer today, like an hour ago or so. I am so excited. I can't tell you how much I love Fallout. Now, if you don't know what Fallout is, then you're a sloppy troglodyte who needs to go back into the cave or something. I don't know. But for those of you who don't, I will be nice and I will explain it to you. Fallout is a post-apocalyptic video game. They've had four of them, plus Fallout Tactics, plus Fallout New Vegas. So I guess that makes six. Plus, I think like a Texas Fallout game. There's been a few of them. It's really popular. It's all 1950s kind of esque. Like if the apocalypse happened in the 1950s, 1950s tech, music, social norms, ways of dress, everything like that. And it was a Cold War between China and the U.S. It's much more in the future. It's like 2050, I think, 2070 maybe. So a lot of the population went down into these vaults, which were these underground bunkers, and the vaults were kind of these trap type things. They were social experiments. They did weird things in the vaults to try to figure out the best way to repopulate the earth. Some people, obviously, that the elites were not subject to these odd experiments, but most people were. That's Fallout, and Fallout follows the story of a vault dweller who leaves the vault and goes out into the wide world. And a lot of the vaults have already opened, and there's been survivors as well who, are tribal and feral and kind of crazy, and they've built society up. There's different factions and different groups. I will explain to you the different groups that are relevant to this trailer as I go along. And without further ado, let's get started. This picture looks so amazing. This is the opening scene from the trailer. Look at the plants. Look at those plants. Now they're all dead, but somehow they're growing still. Never mind that. I believe this is in-game footage. Look at the light effects. Look at the rust on the car. Absolutely amazing. This is next gen through and through. I couldn't be happier with this. Wow, I think this is the first time that we actually see what the pre-war era of Fallout looked like. It's so bright, it's so vibrant, so clean, which is very strange for the Fallout series. The Fallout series is pretty damn dirty. But here we see some tech, and it's very retro. It actually looks primitive. A lot of technology in Fallout 4 or Fallout universe is it looks retro, but it's actually quite futuristic, and this looks pretty old. I love seeing the paintings and everything, seeing it before it was destroyed. It's really interesting. I'm kind of wondering if we're going to see some of this, maybe through the eyes of a ghoul, which is a survivor of the nuclear apocalypse that somehow mutated into an immortal, or something. I want to see what happens next. Okay, wow. At this point in the trailer, we can plainly see that this is in-game footage. It is confirmed. Look at that robot. He is not merely shiny. He is chrome. That is really next gen. Really nice to see that they're putting in this kind of detail. Again, you see this kind of space age retro kitchen type design where you have these cabinets. It looks like one unit, like the whole thing was manufactured. I love the sugar bombs that he's holding. Sugar bombs is a cereal in the Fallout universe. This kind of robot is kind of a butler type robot, but also a formidable threat to the character if encountered, and he's hostile. Here we see who I think is the breakout star of this trailer, this German Shepherd dog. I really like him. It's funny how much I'm attached to him already just from watching this trailer many times. Yes, I put in a lot of work so I can make this stuff for you. You can see how they've upgraded the clutter in this shot. In Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, everything was very cluttered. They had all this random junk everywhere, but it never really popped. It never felt like this is a ruin, like this is stuff that people just moved here. It was just kind of stuff. And they tried the best they could. I think they had problems with the amount of stuff that they could do with the variety of things they could do. But this is next gen, they can do a lot more. You see in the background here more sugar bombs. Apparently they survived the nuclear apocalypse. You know, rock on. You see a dirty dog dish. I mean, look at that dog dish. This is in game. That's beautiful. You see radio and all this stuff. Windows. You see windows. This is one of the major things that was missing for Fallout 3. You couldn't look out if you were inside of a building. If you can look out while inside of a building, that would be amazing. Please, that implies that inside areas are not separate areas. They're not instances. You would just be one large world map. Maybe caves might still be instances, but I hope not. Oh, I hope not. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this game. Again, we see how beautiful the world was before the bombs fell, kind of giving us a sense of loss. It's an interesting perspective, as the game usually doesn't focus on this pre-war perspective. I don't think that the baby is the main character. I'm going to say that up front. The Fallout series is a long time since the bombs fell. I want to say like 100 years maybe. Most of the radiation is cleared out. There's been mutations. Different animals have evolved in strange ways. It's that's with the aid of mutagenics and radiation. And it's not that they've evolved over millions of years. So I don't think that's the main character. I think it's just a prop for the trailer. Wow, nostalgia. This really looks like the starting area for Fallout 3. There's just like this little bombed out town that you can kind of explore. There's just nothing really in there. This really looks like that area. Furthermore, look at those mountains. This area is supposed to be Boston, but clearly this is not Boston because Boston does not have mountains like that. This looks like maybe California, Colorado even. You know, this is not back east. So this is very confusing. Also, look at the sky. The sky is so beautiful in this. Fallout 3 had this perpetual green goo over the lens, and New Vegas had an orangish tint. I'm glad they really stepped away from that kind of ridiculous color scheming. Love you guys, but love you Bethesda, but seriously, this is much, much better. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, this is such a beautiful shot. Look how alive everything is. It makes me really wonder if they're just going to use like an in-game intro for the bombings, or if maybe we're going to go back and forth, maybe with a computer that remembers a time before the bombs fell. It's really interesting just how much effort they put into this. Up above, you can see a Enclave helicopter, which is interesting. I just didn't really expect to see that in this time era, but it's appropriate. So, Vault 111. I tried to find information on this, and I really had a hard time. Apparently, no information exists, which I guess is a good thing. I saw some stuff. It looked like a fan-made thing that said that this was Santa Claus based. I really don't think that's true. I think that's fan fiction stuff. And some people were saying this was located in Boston, but from the look of those mountains, I don't think this is Boston. I think we might be transported to Boston early in the game. Something like that. It's an interesting question. It's also worth noting that in Fallout 3, we had Vault 101. So they're obviously going through kind of like a numerical progression. I'm not sure what they would do for Fallout 5. Maybe Vault 1000, maybe Vault 110. Alright, so right here we have the Washington Monument. Not where it's supposed to be. The Washington Monument should be on the mall, on that area that was turned into the trench warfare area in Fallout 3. It's not there. It's next to this building. I am sorry, but I could not identify what this other building was. It's not the Lincoln Memorial. It's not the Jefferson Memorial. It's not the Supreme Court or White House or Congress building. I don't know what that is. Please tell me if you can figure out what that building is next to it. I think the Enclave is moving important American buildings for propaganda purposes. That's what I think is happening here. Very interesting, very cool idea. Okay, this is pretty crazy. This is a apparently an old wooden sailing ship with rocket boosters attached to it. I think this confirms my theories of long distance travel, that we're going to start at one place and we're going to go all the way somewhere else. I hope so. I think so. This can't just be a prop, and it can't just be trailer bait. It has to be something interesting and unique. And this concept is not unheard of in the Fallout universe. The Brotherhood of Steel used dirigibles to get from California to the East Coast. It's a little bit crazy. It's a lot of bit crazy. That thing looks insane. Those are like Saturn V rocket boosters attached to an old wooden sailing ship. It's good. That's bananas, bro. That is bananas. Again, look at how beautiful everything is. Look at all the clutter. This is quite possibly my most favorite part of the trailer. This is so mysterious and interesting. Fallout 3, the Fallout series can be a little bit obtuse, and this goes in a completely different direction. It really steals the best parts of BioShock and weaves it into its own fabric. And I really love it. There's aren't any clues of what's going on really. They have electricity, you can see that. There's people around. There's something called a memory den. I don't know what that is. I don't think there's really any way to know what that is. I want to know who this guy is. Is he just a minor supporting character? Is that the player character? Very interesting. This could be within the Institute itself, although there's no real reason to believe that. It could also be an enclave settlement. Wow, so much nostalgia. This really reminds me of Fallout 3. There were these merchants that would go around exactly like this with cows loaded up with all kinds of crazy crap on their back. And there were always these electrical towers dotting the landscape. But those mountains, that's not Boston, that's not DC. I really want to know what that is. I'm a little bit nervous at this point that they are going to surround the Boston area with mountains as a way of blocking it off. I'm just a little bit nervous of that. I don't think it's going to be true. I think we're going to start somewhere back west and get fast transported over to Boston. At least I'm crossing my fingers that that's what's going to happen. Wow, absolutely gorgeous. Everything coming out of this trailer is amazing. I think those two characters there are Brotherhood of Steel. And if so, I'm very curious about what their role in all of this is going to be. Now, to the left, we see a car, and that looks like it came from above. So I think that's from a monorail. And I just Googled it, and Boston does have a monorail. So that's pretty interesting. That's a nice detail. They also have a subway. So we're still going to have some nasty dungeon crawling to do. I'm not sure what that building is on the hill. It has a rope net and some kind of cage and maybe a tire swing or counterweight of some kind. I don't want to meet whoever made that. It looks pretty brutal. Those buildings in the background must be the Institute. It could be Brotherhood of Steel or Enclave, but the Institute really has the power and the time. They've been there for a long time to really build impressive infrastructure like we're seeing. This feral robot looks amazing. He's sweeping back and forth. He has a very Battlestar Galactica look to him. He looks a lot more beat up than the robots in Fallout 3 or New Vegas. He just looks like he's fallen down some hills and he's got rained on and rusted out and maybe he's a little bit broken. So here we are at the beach. Now there's a ship in the background with some tents and structures on top of it. So that's obviously some kind of settlement. Although the tents are really quite crude. I think this might actually be maybe a raider settlement. Usually they have more simplistic buildings than the more friendly characters. Right here, we have a some kind of crustacean monster. And in Fallout 3, they had these crustacean monsters that they were really trying to create something that was very New England like. So they made these crab monsters. This could be the Boston version of that, which is an interesting idea. And I love all this vegetation. I love all these sea oats everywhere. It really brings the area together and makes it feel alive. I can't wait to play the game and have them swing back and forth. The Death Claw cometh. This could be a little bit more bestial version than I remember. Usually they're more uh, lanky and long limbed than I remember. This area also looks like it was directly hit, or at least close to directly hit. In Fallout, nothing is ever directly hit. It's always kind of close to it. But you look at the how the steel is melted in the background, and really the destruction is much higher. I'm kind of wondering if this is going to be a region or is this one spot. I'm pretty sure the sun effects are just from sunrise or sunset. Still, just really nice to see a diversity of locations. These ghouls look absolutely amazing. You can't see it right now, but in the trailer, they're pushing carts and boxes out of the way as they dash towards the character. I love this. This is amazing, amazing. The light coming down from the roof, the holes in the roof. It's just, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted, right? I kind of feel like this is an iconic location, although I can't quite figure out what it was. I couldn't find it, what statue that is right there, but it feels very iconic somehow. Now those big yellow arms there lift up a door, and apparently that's a settlement, although they don't really confirm that, which I think looks really cool, really awesome. It reminds me of a next gen version of Megaton. Now, this is an iconic statue of Paul Revere in Boston. And for those of you who don't know, for those of you who are not American, Paul Revere was a Revolutionary War hero who warned the colonists that the British were coming. And in the background, we see an Enclave dirigible. So obviously, what's happening here is that they're making some kind of reference that Paul Revere, the new British are the Enclave. So maybe the Enclave is invading the area. Something like that is happening. Another beautiful shot. The most interesting thing to me in this one is that we're getting a little bit of vehicle action, which is something that really is missing in the Fallout universe. This looks like another shot of what I believe to be the Institute and the state capitol building of Massachusetts. Now, it's not a complete match for the Capitol building of Massachusetts because the Capitol building of Massachusetts has a little bit of a more ornate topper to the dome. For those of you not in the U.S., it's common for state capitol buildings to have ornate gold covered domes because nothing says sustainable democracy like decorating yourself with literally the money of the people. That's always a really great idea. Again, you have these mountains. Am I just wrong about the the landscape of Boston? Is Boston just covered with enormous fucking mountains? Nothing smells more like the apocalypse than civilians killed in nuclear fire. If I saw this picture out of the corner of my eye, I might not know that this was from a video game. I might think that this was a picture. Incredible texture, incredible detail, incredible graphics. And I'm already a little bit attached to this dog. I really hope he starts off with you from the beginning and he goes all the way with you to the end of the story. I really like him. Although at first glance this is just a normal suit of power armor, I'm very intrigued by this setup here. It looks like you can have different mods or somehow adjust your power armor. Now, in the Fallout universe, power armor is the ultimate armor, and once you get it, you're not trading it in for anything else. You might find slightly better power armor or an experimental suit of power armor, but there's nothing else that really satisfies like power armor. It's just the top of what exists in the Fallout universe. But the problem is that you get this around mid game. It's not an end game thing. That means that they have to have some kind of mechanic, and I think that's what they're doing here, where you can modify it, where you can adjust it, change it, make it better, and that'll carry you through all the way to the end game. And I'm very excited for that. It looks like you can even do it maybe with your weapons, I like the bobblehead in the background. That's always pretty fun. And then they have the comic books too. This is just so many fun little things in this. I have to admit, this got me a little bit in the feels at the end. It's just a story about a boy and his dog. It really, they had the Mad Max movie started off this way. They had a movie called A Boy and His Dog that was like this, and both nuclear apocalypse stories. And Fallout originally was like this. They got a little bit away with it with Fallout 3 and New Vegas, but they still had the same theme in there. And it's just kind of really nice to see this. I don't want to see a romance. I just want to see a good story about a man and his dog. I think that would be very refreshing, very elegantly simple, and perhaps a bit more fulfilling than a romance because the dog would actually be loyal. This was such an incredible trailer. I am so thrilled for this game. What do you guys think? What do you think of what I said? What do you think of the trailer? What do you think of the setting? What do you think of the graphics? What do you think of the dog? What do you think of Vault 111? What do you think of the new crab monster that they showed? What do you think of the fast zombies that they have? Just tell me your thoughts. Get back to me.